Been a question that's been killing me for a while. It kills me. It does. No, not many other questions you would think I would have, but a very silly question about a designer's decision, or designers, the way people like to put too many cooks to spoil the broth, usually on a blaster, and take a working system and screw it up with too many cooks. But not in this case. There's just one flaw. One, and I gotta figure out why. Why did Hasbro, with their temporary insanity, decide to make the Kronos a 90 foot per second blaster using a weak spring instead of 100 plus with a Apollo spring? It's been bugging me. So let's see. Let's compare the two side by side. We have a Deadpool blaster with a Apollo spring, and we have a Deadpool blaster with a stock spring. We're going to shoot down my block and we're going to see what it does. Does it do any good? We'll find out. Okay, so this is stock spring. Let's start with stock spring first. See, it's not very fascinating. Good for an indoor war. I mean, they'd roll indefinitely, but it didn't even get past this one driveway here. You saw when I did 18 kilograms, how I got to pretty much where my Silver Civic is way back there, about that far. Pretty good. Now let's go with the 14K and see what happens. 14 kilogram Apollo. There it is. Okay. Alright, I can name couple reasons that may be why. Let's see, let's talk why I pick up my ammo that rolled all the way down the street, because that's the wonderful thing that rival balls do, which is one reason I like Stefan better. The other is more straighter, and the other goes farther. So, about here is about where the standard Kronos goes. That's clocked in at around 90 to 92 feet per second. And about here, I'm talking another 25-30 feet, is where the rival Apollo spring went. About 70-75 feet, I'd say. That's pretty powerful. I'm guessing that that's doing 100 to 120 feet per second. And everybody knows how it's hard to go from like one gauge spring, go to another gauge spring, and get the results you want, especially if you've already have your plunger tube and you already have your size. I think one reason they made this plunger tube on the Kronos bigger than any other rifle blaster I've ever seen is because they wanted it to be easy to prime and easy to fire. They wanted it, I mean, even my 8 and 9-year-old nephews and nieces, they got Kronos blasters, they got Deadpool blasters for Christmas. They were able to use them. Yeah, you know, that's pretty cool. Because you give them an Apollo, and I bet you anything, with the janky prime and the gears and everything, they probably couldn't. But I think what happened was they made a plunger size. This is the only theory. They made a plunger. That plunger was too big, and they put the Apollo spring in there and went, whoops, well, this is too powerful. And since that Apollo spring is already 4 inches long, 9 coils by 0.72 gauge or 1.8 millimeter gauge for those who live in metric, going down on the pre-compression isn't going to help. So they decided to go with 1 gauge down, like a 0.62 gauge spring. And they went 5 inches because they wanted more compression. And they ended up getting about 90. My guess is they were shooting for 100, but I know what it's like fighting spring gauges when you're trying to design a blaster to do a certain amount of power. And let's face it, the plunger tube is enormous. It's an 1.5 inch diameter. It's got an 8-to-1 pressure, cross pressure to cross section ratio. When you bring it to stuff, and it's about 4-to-1 with a rifle ball. And that's why when you put a 14K on there, people like Joe Cass have gotten 160. I've gotten about 170, 175 in 18K. Well, what Explorer would call 18K anyway, not what Turf would call 18K. And you can see how the power in this plunger tube, because it's good, it just jumps. In other words, it is possible to make something that's too good of a thing if you're in one department, like you're making the internals, and then you're in the other department where you're trying to make it do 100 feet per second, because 100 feet per second is what Singapore passed, is what everybody passed, 0.88 joules. They're trying to meet that exactly. And my guess is they couldn't meet that, so they decided, okay, it's a budget blaster, it's smaller, it's 20 bucks. Okay, fine, we'll settle on 90. That will have to do. When we go 1 gauge down, we can't give it more spring for more compression. It's not going to do any good. We can't go 1 gauge up, or else it's going to be over 100. So you're stuck in that middle ground. I've seen this so many times. So that's my guess anyway. So anyway, up to a lot of things. Well, today I went shopping. Yes. And what did Chris go shopping for? Well, you may notice that back then. Went to Toys R Us and got me this. Now, why didn't I wait for the price to get down to like cents? Well, really simple. This is a limited edition blaster, and I didn't think that this was going to be around in 2 weeks. So I got myself a Sonic Ice Retaliator. Why? Because I had one. It was pretty good. It creaked and everything, but it looked really cool. I traded it for a Red Recon. I still own it, actually. And I decided, okay, I better get this. Have it new in box, just for display, just to stick in my room, nothing big. Yeah. And of course, I couldn't do without one of my favorites. Oh, gosh. It was funny. I was talking to Coop772 the other day, and he says, congratulations, you built a ret. my modded Kronos. Congratulations, you built a ret, you doof. And I guess he is kind of right, except for, well, it's a much more powerful ret. Doesn't need a bolt sled, all that stuff. It's really cool blaster. This is like my 4th one I've gotten so far. They're probably going to see me with like 10 of these. They're just really badass. And these ones are on my sidearms. I'm probably going to put the normal spring back in here, or I'll throw a 9-kilogram turf in each one of those. And those will just be my sidearms for, rifle wars. And let's see. And then in this bag, ooh, this is a surprise for later. Yes. So anyway, remember when I used to have a Pyrogon? As a matter of fact, the Pyrogon's sitting right there. I used to have a Pyrogon in the back of my car. So if I needed to blast somebody, I could do it. Well, this day and age, it's, well, yeah, you got it. And it's cool. Oh, there's my holster. Been missing this. I'm wondering where my freaking Shotfire holster went. So yeah, so this is why I can immediately just grab the blaster and just shoot at anybody, just like I just shot at my mom's car, and just waffle people. You can put this down. You can load it up with 6Ds and just. So a Nemesis has become my trunk blaster, basically. I'm gonna go pick up those balls, and then I'm gonna take what's in that bag, and I'm gonna show you what's in there. I'm back in Cartea's Man Cave. We have what's in this bag. Oh, yes. That is, guess what? That is Kugler Absinthe. That's right. It is pretty powerful stuff. It's made in Switzerland. It's not like the French Absinthe, which is green. It's actually clear. But it's good. So, I need something more appropriate. Let's see here. YouTube. Where are you, YouTube? There you go. YouTube. Open! Open, you fucking piece of crap. Okay, thank you. And don't go to my fucking channel. What are you doing? Nobody wants to see my channel. Who wants to see my channel? No one. Oh, but 10 serves for things that you didn't know about, Chris. Yeah, go ahead and look at that up. And if you think a drink, it will make you think that words will never hurt you. Oh, yes. You gotta drink a lot to make you think that words will never hurt you. Oh, what are words for if nobody likes them anymore? You know, yeah. As always, the key to drinking absinthe is to get the right sugar and to get really cold water. And this is sugar in the raw. Basically, this is what... I know you guys are just waiting for me to spill this, aren't you? This is what sugar was in the 19th century, basically. And quite frankly, that's what you want. 19th century sugar for absinthe. Because absinthe was actually made for 19th century, you got. Okay, so let me put this over here so it really doesn't fall over. It is magic. That's right. See that? That's not milk, my friends. That is one very powerful drink. Oh. Oh, yes. What? No slotted spoon? No this? No that? No. Don't need it. Till the whole next time, this is Chris Cartea watching this Titanic sink in real time. On the computer animation, of course. And don't you go changing.